My father called me a mistake, so I kept my baby hidden in our basement. But when my boyfriend's mother discovered the truth, she stalked us for months and tried to get CPS to take our son away. Can you imagine being called a mistake by your own father? That's where my story began. But what started with a whispered secret in our cold basement became an all-out war with a woman so obsessed. She nearly destroyed my family, and ultimately herself. What would you do if someone weaponized the system against you, trying to steal your child? My dad didn't just call me a mistake, he lived it. He constantly reminded me I was the reason his life was ruined. Depressed, broke, alone. He was only 17 when I was born, and his words, those crushing words, carved out a hollow space inside me. I grew up hating myself, feeling like one big cosmic joke. No wonder I ended up chasing anything that numbed the pain, anything that offered a flicker of escape. And then, at 16, I saw those two pink lines. My heart hammered against my ribs. Pregnant. I locked myself in the bathroom, sobbing for days. Telling my dad? Impossible. Things were already barely held together between us. This would shatter everything. So I turned to my grandma. My guardian angel, truly. She was my mom's mother, the only connection I had to that side of the family, especially after my mom disappeared when I was a baby. Grandma always hated my dad, claiming he'd abandoned my mom during her own pregnancy, only to reappear years later, playing the hero after my mom was already gone. When I told her my secret, she didn't yell, didn't look disappointed. She just hugged me, held me tight, and promised we'd figure it out. That hug? It was everything. We hatched a plan. I'd hide the pregnancy, stay in school, and then after the baby was born we'd decide. But where would the baby go? Grandma's place was too small, and my dad would never let me move in. So we came up with something wild. The basement. Our basement. I know it sounds awful, but it wasn't some dark, dirty dungeon. We cleared a space, brought in a heater, blankets, all the supplies. Liam, my boyfriend, would sneak in through the side door when Dad was at work, bringing diapers, formula, whatever we needed. It was far from ideal, but we were surviving. Hiding my pregnancy was surprisingly easy. My dad was so emotionally absent it almost worked in my favor. I just stayed out of his way and he barely noticed. Noah was born in secret at Grandma's house, with a retired nurse she knew from church helping us. No hospital. Just us trying to keep a secret that felt impossibly huge. Every night while Dad thought I was doing homework, I was in that basement caring for my son. I was constantly exhausted, but Liam helped whenever he could. We were counting down the days until my 17th birthday, when we could finally get our own place, finally be free. Then, one night in January, everything exploded. The furnace died. The house was freezing. I heard Dad rummaging for space heaters and I knew. I just felt it in my gut. He was going to the basement. I heard his heavy footsteps descend, then silence, then slower footsteps coming back up. He walked into the kitchen holding a tiny sock. Noah's sock. His face was pure white, like he'd seen a ghost. He didn't yell. Not at first. He just asked, his voice shaking, "Whose baby is in my house?" I couldn't lie. I told him the truth. He lost it. Pacing, shouting, "You ruined your life. How could you do this in my house? Is this what I worked my butt off for?" I stood my ground, my voice as firm as I could make it. "I'm leaving. Taking my baby. Going to Grandma's." He tried to stop me, but I was done. That night, I left with Noah in his car seat, Grandma waiting in the driveway, ready to take us in. The next few weeks were a blur of awful. Dad didn't call. I didn't call him. Grandma was beside herself, blaming him for everything. "If he'd just shown you grace," she'd say, "you wouldn't have felt like you had to hide." But I knew it wasn't just him. I hadn't trusted him enough to tell him the truth. I just assumed he'd hate me the way he clearly hated himself. And then things got even worse. Liam's parents found out. His mom, that woman, offered him money. Enough for college out of state. If he'd just walk away from me. Leave me. Forget about Noah. But Liam, bless his heart, he refused. He chose us. My dad actually respected him for it, which was a shocking twist. I think he saw a better version of himself in Liam, a version that chose to stay and fight. For a brief moment, things were looking up. Dad even seemed to accept Noah when we talked on the phone. Then Grandma had a heart attack. Minor, but it scared me to death. I had no choice. I had to go back to Dad's house. He didn't say much. Just set up a crib in my room and went back to work. For a few months it was okay. Noah was growing, Dad was slowly getting more involved, and Liam was as present as he could be. But just when we thought we might actually rebuild, CPS showed up. Someone had reported an unfit environment for an infant. Chaos. Pure chaos. Grandma blamed Dad. Dad blamed Grandma. They were screaming at each other in front of the social worker. It was mortifying. The worker got them to calm down and we laid it all out. The entire messy, complicated truth of how Noah came to be. And that's when she dropped the bomb that made my jaw hit the floor. The reporter? Not Grandma. Not Dad. It was Liam's mother. She wanted Noah taken away. To save Liam from ruining his life. I just couldn't believe it. The CPS worker scheduled a follow-up, leaving us with a mountain of paperwork. My hands were shaking so hard I could barely hold Noah. Dad and Grandma were still at it downstairs, their voices cutting through the thin walls. Dad slammed his fist. Grandma pointed her finger. They didn't even notice me slip away with Noah, needing to breathe, needing to process. This wasn't about Noah's safety. This was about control. Hers. I paced my room, my mind racing. What now? The CPS worker had been so thorough, snapping photos, asking about medical records, income. Sympathetic, yes, but utterly professional. Protocol. Liam buzzed my phone. I texted him a frantic warning. Minutes later, his car roared into the driveway. He burst into my room, still in his work clothes, face red with anger. He checked on Noah first, always Noah. Then he turned to me, jaw clenched, fists balled. I explained everything, watching his anger morph into disbelief, then cold, hard determination. But before we could even plan, a familiar voice cut through the air downstairs. Liam's mother. Again. We rushed to the window just as her car pulled up, followed by the CPS worker's vehicle. My stomach dropped like a stone. Liam bolted downstairs. I clutched Noah and followed, finding everyone gathered in the living room. Liam's mother stood by the door, ranting to the CPS worker, gesturing wildly. My son is being trapped by this girl and her dysfunctional family. The worker, impassive, took notes. Dad stood in the corner, arms crossed, simmering. Grandma, hand pressed to her chest, struggled to breathe. Then the worker asked to see the basement. My blood ran cold. Even though we'd moved everything, the space still had a certain feel. Liam's mother's face lit up with satisfaction as the worker documented the now empty space. I tried to explain it was temporary, that we had no other choice. But she cut me off, pulling out her phone. Time-stamped photos. Months of them. Taken through our basement windows. The realization hit me like a physical blow. She'd been watching us. Stalking us. Planning this. The worker's expression finally shifted. She asked Liam's mother how she got the photos. Her response. Smooth, practiced. Concerned about my grandchild's welfare. Upstairs, Grandma's phone rang. Her doctor. I watched the color drain from her face. The stress was taking its toll. Reduce stress immediately, the doctor warned, or risk another cardiac event. The CPS worker noticed, suggesting we continue another time. As she left, she pulled me aside. Her advice. Document everything. Get a lawyer. Be prepared for a fight. Silence hung heavy in the kitchen after everyone left. Noah fussed in my arms, sensing the tension. Then Dad spoke, his voice unlike any I'd ever heard. We'll handle this. As a family. Together. I couldn't sleep that night. Scrolling through Facebook, my blood ran cold. Liam's mother had been busy. Post after post in local community groups, carefully worded to avoid names but clearly about us. Concerned grandmother worried about teen parents in unsafe environment. The comments were brutal. Strangers judging us, based on her twisted narrative. Some even offered to call CPS themselves. She was building an army. Around 3 a.m. I found Dad in Noah's room, rocking him gently. He was whispering, "I won't let them take you away, Noah." When he saw me, we just looked at each other. Then, for the first time in years, he really talked. He told me about when I was born, how CPS had gotten involved then, too. My teenage mom, scared and overwhelmed, the threats of losing custody. But her difference? She ran. She left me with Dad and disappeared, too terrified to face the system. Dad, barely 18, suddenly alone with a baby, navigating social workers and court dates. That trauma shaped everything that came after. My phone buzzed. Liam. His mom had changed the locks. Frozen his bank account, the one she co-signed. She was trying to force him to abandon us. Grandma, despite doctor's orders, spent the next morning on the phone, calling every family friend she could think of, building a list of people who could testify to my fitness as a mother. Teachers, church friends, neighbors. She was building our defense. Searching the attic for baby supplies, I found something that stopped me cold. Dad's old journals. Hidden under Christmas decorations. I shouldn't have, but I couldn't help myself. Entries from when he was 17. Page after page about his own CPS case. The fear. The anger. The feeling of being judged unfit before he even had a chance. History was repeating itself. The doorbell rang. The CPS worker. Another surprise visit. We were in the middle of breakfast. Noah in his high chair making a mess. Dad on his phone. Grandma making coffee. A perfectly ordinary family moment. The worker watched us for an hour taking notes. Me feeding Noah, changing him, soothing him. Dad helping without being asked. Grandma offering advice without overstepping. She saw a family unit. After she left, Dad apologized. Truly apologized. I wasn't a mistake, he said, looking right at me, tears in his eyes. I was just a scared kid who became a scared man. And I took it all out on you. Later that day, I dove into Liam's mom's social media. What I found made my skin crawl. She'd been building a case for months. Screenshots of Noah's photos. Comments twisted out of context. A digital paper trail painting us as unfit. She'd even gone to my school counselor trying to dig up dirt. Thank God my counselor refused to break confidentiality. But she tried. My grades suffered. Juggling Noah, CPS school. Every missed assignment, every tardy, more ammo for her. I was drowning. And she was documenting every moment I went under. Even the retired nurse who helped deliver Noah wouldn't give a statement, terrified of legal consequences. Another ally lost to fear. I started my own documentation. Feeding schedules. Diaper changes. Doctor visits. Every milestone. Proof. Proof that Noah was loved and cared for despite the chaos. I was updating that log when Liam's mother showed up at our door. Liam was at work. She stood there, a manila folder clutched in her hand, loudly talking about grandparents' rights, how she wouldn't be kept from her grandchild. Dad stepped out, closing the door behind him. I watched from the window. Her animated gestures. His crossed arms. Whatever he said, it worked. She left, but not without a venomous look at our house. In the next few days, neighbors approached Dad. Liam's mother had been making rounds, asking people to report concerns about Noah. Most were uncomfortable, seeing right through her manipulation. But it showed her strategy, build a false consensus of our unfitness. She was trying to create social proof, a tactic I recognized from psychology class. Make it seem like everyone believed we were bad parents and maybe the authorities would too. Upstairs, Grandma's phone rang. Her doctor. I watched the color drain from her face. The stress was taking its toll. Reduce stress immediately, the doctor warned, or risk another cardiac event. The CPS worker noticed, suggesting we continue another time. As she left, she pulled me aside. Her advice. Document everything. Get a lawyer. Be prepared for a fight. Silence hung heavy in the kitchen after everyone left. Noah fussed in my arms, sensing the tension. Then Dad spoke, his voice unlike any I'd ever heard. We'll handle this. As a family. Together. I couldn't sleep that night. Scrolling through Facebook, my blood ran cold. Liam's mother had been busy. Post after post in local community groups, carefully worded to avoid names but clearly about us. Concerned grandmother worried about teen parents in unsafe environment. The comments were brutal. Strangers judging us, based on her twisted narrative. Some even offered to call CPS themselves. She was building an army. Around 3 a.m. I found Dad in Noah's room, rocking him gently. He was whispering, "I won't let them take you away, Noah." When he saw me, we just looked at each other. Then, for the first time in years, he really talked. He told me about when I was born, how CPS had gotten involved then, too. My teenage mom, scared and overwhelmed, the threats of losing custody. But her difference? She ran. She left me with Dad and disappeared, too terrified to face the system. Dad, barely 18, suddenly alone with a baby, navigating social workers and court dates. That trauma shaped everything that came after. My phone buzzed. Liam. His mom had changed the locks. Frozen his bank account, the one she co-signed. She was trying to force him to abandon us. Grandma, despite doctor's orders, spent the next morning on the phone, calling every family friend she could think of, building a list of people who could testify to my fitness as a mother. Teachers, church friends, neighbors. She was building our defense. Searching the attic for baby supplies, I found something that stopped me cold. Dad's old journals. Hidden under Christmas decorations. I shouldn't have, but I couldn't help myself. Entries from when he was 17. Page after page about his own CPS case. The fear. The anger. The feeling of being judged unfit before he even had a chance. History was repeating itself. The doorbell rang. The CPS worker. Another surprise visit. We were in the middle of breakfast. Noah in his high chair making a mess. Dad on his phone. Grandma making coffee. A perfectly ordinary family moment. The worker watched us for an hour taking notes. Me feeding Noah, changing him, soothing him. Dad helping without being asked. Grandma offering advice without overstepping. She saw a family unit. After she left, Dad apologized. Truly apologized. I wasn't a mistake, he said, looking right at me, tears in his eyes. I was just a scared kid who became a scared man. And I took it all out on you. Later that day, I dove into Liam's mom's social media. What I found made my skin crawl. She'd been building a case for months. Screenshots of Noah's photos. Comments twisted out of context. A digital paper trail painting us as unfit. She'd even gone to my school counselor trying to dig up dirt. Thank God my counselor refused to break confidentiality. But she tried. My grades suffered. Juggling Noah, CPS, school. Every missed assignment, every tardy, more ammo for her. I was drowning. And she was documenting every moment I went under. Even the retired nurse who helped deliver Noah wouldn't give a statement, terrified of legal consequences. Another ally lost to fear. I started my own documentation. Feeding schedules. Diaper changes. Doctor visits. Every milestone. Proof. Proof that Noah was loved and cared for despite the chaos. I was updating that log when Liam's mother showed up at our door. Liam was at work. She stood there, a manila folder clutched in her hand, loudly talking about grandparents' rights, how she wouldn't be kept from her grandchild. Dad stepped out, closing the door behind him. I watched from the window. Her animated gestures. His crossed arms. Whatever he said, it worked. She left, but not without a venomous look at our house. In the next few days, neighbors approached Dad. Liam's mother had been making rounds, asking people to report concerns about Noah. Most were uncomfortable, seeing right through her manipulation. But it showed her strategy, build a false consensus of our unfitness. She was trying to create social proof, a tactic I recognized from psychology class. Make it seem like everyone believed we were bad parents and maybe the authorities would too. Then, an unexpected ally. Liam's 14-year-old sister Sarah. She messaged me on Instagram. My mom's lost it. There's a whole binder about you guys. I want to help. We met secretly. Sarah, nervous but determined, revealed her mom had hired a private investigator to follow me, documenting every time I looked tired, every time Noah cried in public. Normal parenting moments, twisted into evidence of unfitness. Liam confronted his mother. Her response: I'm saving him from ruining his life, like your father ruined mine. It wasn't about our age. It was her own unresolved trauma, projected onto Liam. Dad tried to arrange a civil meeting parent to parent, but she refused to acknowledge him as Noah's grandfather, refused to see us as a legitimate family. To her, we were just children playing house. She was the only adult in the situation. The following week brought more trouble. Liam's mother started showing up at Dad's workplace, chatting with his boss, posing as a concerned grandmother. Dad's boss, bless him, mentioned the difficult home situation. Dad, who'd been at that company for 8 years, his reputation solid. Now his personal life was bleeding into his professional, threatening everything. I saw his jaw tighten. That evening I heard Dad on the phone with his siblings. He hadn't spoken to them in years. But desperation was breaking down old walls. His sister 2 states away. His brother in the next town. Both offered support. Shocked they had a great nephew they'd never met. The isolation Dad had built around himself? It was crumbling, replaced by something stronger. Liam officially moved in after his mom changed the locks. 2 suitcases. Pure determination. The spare room became his. We built new routines. Noah seemed happier. His giggles filling the silence that had suffocated our house for so long. Sarah kept feeding us information. Screenshots from her mom's computer. The private investigator's reports. Extensive. My coffee shop visits. Doctor appointments. One photo, me yawning pushing Noah's stroller. Caption. Mother appears exhausted, possibly neglectful. The invasion of privacy made my skin crawl. In psychology class, I researched narcissistic behavior. Everything matched. The control. The inability to accept autonomy. The manipulation. Understanding her psychology didn't make it easier, but it helped me predict her next move. CPS scheduled another visit, bringing a supervisor. Separate interviews. Detailed questions about Noah. I showed them my meticulous documentation. Feeding logs, medical records, developmental milestones. The supervisor was impressed. Grandma's health remained fragile. She came to the meetings but couldn't handle the stress. New meds. Weekly checkups. Watching her struggle added another layer of urgency. Late one night, buried in legal precedents, I found something huge. Liam's mother had been through a custody battle before. Court records showed she'd lost custody of Liam's older half-brother, Nicholas, 15 years ago. This wasn't her first rodeo. I shared it with our family lawyer, a friend of Grandma's, who offered reduced rates. This pattern of behavior? Crucial. It showed her motivations were control, not concern. The next morning, another surprise. Nicholas, Liam's 25-year-old half-brother, contacted him through social media. He'd heard. He wanted to help. He'd been through this. We met him halfway. He looked like an older Liam, same kind eyes, but with years of hard-won wisdom. He told us his story. How his mother had driven away his father with the exact same tactics. The custody battle was brutal, but the court saw through her. Nicholas offered to testify, bringing his own records. Emails, court documents. The relief on Liam's face? Palpable. He wasn't alone. His brother understood. I focused on Noah. His routine. Morning feedings, naps, baths. I documented everything. A paper trail of competent parenting. Dad surprised me again. AA meetings. Sober for 2 months, and this stress was a massive test. He came home calmer, more centered. Journaling again. Processing on paper. Our pediatrician gave a glowing report. Noah's health perfect. Motor skills developing normally. Attachment to both parents secure. She offered to provide a statement to CPS. Another professional voice against the false narrative. Liam's mother escalated. Showing up at his workplace again, causing scenes. His manager banned her. But the damage to his professional reputation? More stress. I learned she was attending the same church as several CPS workers, trying to build relationships. The manipulation was sophisticated, yes, but also desperate. She was throwing everything at the wall, hoping something would stick. Sarah kept feeding us info. Her mom had blown thousands on the private investigator, the lawyer. Financial strain. Credit card bills. Loan applications. The campaign against us was bankrupting her, but she couldn't stop. One afternoon, I found Dad in the garage going through old boxes. Photos of me as a baby. Documents from his own teenage years. His eyes were wet. He talked about his lost dreams, how fear and anger had poisoned everything. He was determined not to let history repeat itself. The CPS supervisor called with positive news. Their initial assessment? No neglect. No abuse. Noah was thriving. Our home safe. Strong support system. They'd recommend closing the case. Final decision in a few weeks. Liam's mother's reaction? Swift. Desperate. She filed a complaint with the supervisor's boss, alleging bias. Contacted state representatives. Trying to trigger a higher-level investigation. Each move screamed desperation. She was watching her control slip away. Dad's siblings arrived for a weekend visit. My aunt and uncle. Strangers just weeks before. Now embracing their roles as great aunt and uncle, showering Noah with gifts. The fractured family? Healing. United by crisis. I kept my grades up, fueled by sheer determination. Teachers aware of my situation gave extensions extra help. My guidance counselor wrote a glowing letter. Resilience. Dedication. Another voice against the unfit mother narrative. Then the investigation into Liam's mother's workplace. Financial discrepancies. She'd been using company resources for her campaign. Private investigator paid through expense accounts. Legal fees hidden. The web of deception? Unraveling. Nicholas arrived for an extended visit, bringing boxes of documents from his own custody case. Decades of the same tactics. The same manipulations. The same desperate need for control. Our lawyer built a compelling case. Stalking, false reports, workplace harassment, financial deception. What started as a custody concern was revealing itself as a criminal pattern of harassment and fraud. The tables were turning. Grandma's health stabilized. She started hosting family dinners. Moments of normalcy. Precious. Noah gurgling oblivious. Dad hit 90 days sober. I went with him to his AA meeting. He shared his story. Second chances. Breaking cycles. Choosing love over fear. His transformation was remarkable. The financial audit at Liam's mother's workplace. $30,000 embezzled. Funded the private investigator's lawyer's campaign against us. Her employer filed charges. Suddenly, she was facing criminal prosecution. Sarah moved in with her dad, unable to handle her mom's erratic behavior. She testified in family court. The binders. The obsession. The poisoned home life. Her bravery. Multiple professionals now supported us. Teachers. Doctors. Social workers. Neighbors. The community Liam's mother tried to turn against us? They rallied to our defense. Her tactics had spectacularly backfired. The CPS case was moving toward closure. Every requirement met. Every concern addressed. Noah was healthy, loved, thriving. Our family, unconventional as it was, stood strong. The system designed to protect children was working. Seeing through the manipulation, Liam's mother made increasingly desperate moves. Distant relatives. Fake social media. Each action just highlighted her instability, chipped away at her credibility. Dad and I finally had honest conversations about our past. He admitted the damage. His self-hatred poisoning our bond. I forgave him. I understood. Hurt people. We were breaking the cycles. Together. Our extended family network grew. Cousins I'd never met offered babysitting. Great aunts sent care packages. The isolation was replaced by connection. Noah would grow up surrounded by love. Liam's mother's criminal charges became public. Her reputation crumbled. The concerned grandmother facade shattered, replaced by the reality of a desperate woman. Our lawyer filed for a restraining order. The evidence was overwhelming. Photos, false reports, harassment, financial manipulation. The legal system was finally catching up. I watched Noah hit milestones. First smiles, first laughs, rolling over. Each moment documented not for legal reasons anymore but for memories. Despite everything, we were building a beautiful life. Dad's transformation inspired others. Cousins dealing with their own trauma. The healing rippled outward. Crisis revealing strength. The CPS supervisor officially recommended case closure. No neglect. No abuse. Just a young family under attack from a manipulative individual. Their report? Thorough. Supportive. Liam struggled. He loved his mom, but he saw her toxicity. Therapy helped. Boundaries. Hope for her healing. His strength daily impressed me. More evidence emerged in the criminal investigation. Multiple private investigators. Embezzled funds. Her obsession had consumed her. The prosecutor built a strong case. Sarah testified again. Powerful. A daughter choosing truth. The restraining order hearing. We laid out the evidence. Her lawyer spun it as grandmotherly concern. The judge saw through it. Noah's first birthday was coming. Legal proceedings still ongoing. We planned a small celebration. Only those who stood by us. A celebration of Noah's life, yes, but also of our survival. Dad marked 6 months sober. Quiet pride. He faced the stress, didn't relapse. Healthy coping. His journals. Growth. Self-awareness. Becoming the father he always wanted to be. The criminal trial date set. Embezzlement. Fraud. Plea deal negotiations. Prosecutor held firm. Evidence too strong. We focused on our future. Colleges for me. Promotions for Liam. Savings for Dad. Planning for success, not just survival. The family court judge issued the restraining order. No contact. 500 feet. The legal protection felt like a physical weightlifting. We could finally breathe. As we prepped for Noah's birthday, I reflected. A teenage pregnancy. Hidden in shame. Now a story of resilience. Manipulation. Legal battles. Health scares. We'd emerged stronger. The extended family gathered. Laughter. Love. Noah, oblivious, smashed his cake with gleeful abandon. Liam's mother accepted a plea deal. Probation. Mandatory therapy. No contact with Noah until he was 18. Not perfect justice but resolution. Just days before our final hearing, Sarah texted. Her mom was planning something big. New aggressive lawyer. I showed our lawyer. Counter strategies. The psychological evaluation. Confirmed. Narcissistic control. Inability to respect boundaries. Manipulation. Using systems as weapons. Professional diagnosis. Powerful. Dad's journals. Organized. A timeline of transformation. Proof of change. 20 character witnesses. Teachers. Neighbors. Medical professionals. Each voice a part of our defense. Liam's mother released edited videos online. Timestamps altered. Conversations spliced. Grooming claims. The desperation. But community backlash was swift. People who knew us saw the deception. Parents from Noah's playgroup posted their own videos. The character assassination backfired. Some family wavered. Too harsh. Just a concerned grandmother? The pressure to drop the restraining order. Be the bigger person. I recognized the abuse cycle. But Noah's safety came first. Protection isn't punishment. I held my boundaries. The night before our final hearing, Liam's mom barraged family with emails. Alienating her. Persecuted. Relatives forwarded them concerned. Court. The courtroom. Small. Intimate. Liam's mother across from us, whispering to her lawyer. Dad squeezed my shoulder. The judge reviewed everything. Stalking photos. Embezzlement. Psych evaluation. False reports. A clear picture. Her lawyer tried to reframe it. Maternal concern. Then Liam's mother spoke. Finally. The truth. Her own teen pregnancy. Trapped. Alone. She wanted better for Liam. Couldn't bear him repeating her mistakes. Raw. Honest. Unexpected. Sarah testified. Years of controlling behavior. Binders. Scheming. Poisoned home. Quiet strength. The judge asked me what outcome I sought. Not punishment, I explained. Protection. Boundaries. Noah deserved to grow up without manipulation. I requested the restraining order, nothing more. The embezzlement would proceed separately. Not vengeance. Safety. Breaking cycles. The judge ordered therapy. No contact with Noah until he's 18. Supervised contact with Liam if agreed. She tried to approach Noah after the ruling. The bailiff stepped in. Her face? Not anger. Just profound sadness. Loss. That evening, her final manipulation. Threatening to harm herself if Liam didn't bring Noah. We called emergency services. Psychiatric hold. Getting the help she needed. CPS closed the case. Noah thriving. Resilience. Documentation. Cooperation. Commitment. Commended. Liam got a text from his mom after her release. I'll always love you even if you hate me. He didn't hate her. He pitied her. Wished things were different. Her healing journey. Hers to take. Our family new routines. Dad AA meetings inspiring others. 6 months passed. Noah's first steps. In our living room. Where Dad called me a mistake. Now baby gates, toys, photos. Dad cheered loudest, scooping Noah up. Liam GD Community College social work. Inspired by the system. Employer promoted him. Maturity. Dedication. Grandma's health stable. Sunday dinners. Extended family. Nicholas visiting. Sarah thriving. Her voice found. Her courage. The embezzlement restitution. Noah's college fund. Poetic justice. Money stolen to tear us apart. Now securing his future. Noah's first birthday. Dad and I on the porch. Our first honest conversation. No blame. No defensiveness. He was proud. I'd shown strength he never knew. Breaking cycles. His father abandoned him. He abandoned me. But I chose to fight for Noah. To build family. The chain of abandonment ended with us. I returned to school focused. Grades recovered. Teachers saw me excel. Guidance counselor. Scholarships for young parents. My story. My strength. Not my shame. 1 year after that first CPS visit. Different lives. Noah toddling in the backyard. Chasing bubbles Dad blew. Liam pushing him on the swing Grandma bought. The yard where I hid my pregnancy. Now filled with sounds of family. Liam's mother respected the restraining order. Intensive therapy. Updates. Addressing trauma. Control issues. No contact but hope for her healing. The house. Once silence and resentment. Now bursts with life. Baby gates. Toys. The basement Noah's first weeks now a playroom. Secret shame transformed into joy. I watched Noah take confident steps across the living room. Arms outstretched to Dad. The man who wished he'd pulled out. Now catching his grandson, tears in his eyes, lifting him high in celebration. Transformation complete. Journey continued. Family photos. Dad sober. Liam working. Grandma stable. Extended family. Noah thriving. The cycle. Abandonment and control. Generations. Finally broken. Not grand gestures. Daily choices. Show up. Stay. Love. Despite the challenges. Sometimes the youngest among us teach the greatest lessons about resilience and love. It's been a long, hard road, but we made it. I'm curious, have any of you ever had to fight a battle like this? Not just for yourselves, but for your family? Or maybe you've seen someone turn their own trauma into a weapon? Tell me your thoughts in the comments below.